The 2025 GR Corolla just got a little bit quicker, and in this video I'm going to explain why it's quicker. We're going to talk about the different things, especially the new direct automatic transmission. There are some suspension changes, and we're going to briefly touch on the different trim packages as well. So the GR Corolla has been a very well-received car. I think with the departure of the WRX STI, I think this is essentially what a lot of people are looking towards right now. And one of the biggest things that it has the direct automatic transmission, which previously it didn't have. It only had a manual transmission. For a lot of people who want to drive around the city and just sort of use the car more casually, this is going to be a big improvement. So let's talk about the three things that are going to improve the performance of this car. First up is the direct automatic transmission. This is brand new. This is a unit that developed specifically for this car, as this unit has not been seen in anything else before. And it works a little bit differently than other automatic transmissions like in the Supra and the GR86. So let me talk about it. In the GR86 and the Supra, the transmission is responding to what the vehicle is actually doing. So acceleration, braking, yaw, those kinds of things. In this car, what they're doing is they are adding a couple of inputs to help predict a little bit better for the driver what the car is actually going to do. So let's say that you're coming up for a corner on a race circuit. And what typically is going to happen is that you're going to want to downshift your vehicle before the apex so you can get ready to get on throttle and apply power before you exit. So with this new inputs that it's taking from the brakes and also the accelerator, it's going to anticipate what your next move is going to be and then typically apply it. So let's say you're coming up to a corner, you're braking, it's going to know even before the car starts to decelerate that you're going to want a lower gear on corner exit. So what it's going to do is it's going to select that gear at the appropriate time and then hopefully get you in that gear and help you get power down more effectively on corner exit. It's supposed to be a little bit telepathic. It sounds a little bit like what Porsche is doing with some of their products. So that's sort of the idea behind it. It's supposed to intuit what the driver really wants. And they're saying it's going to make it easier for a sort of novice driver to be a little bit faster on a circuit as well. Now they've actually developed this car both in rally conditions and on a race circuit so that you've got different types of driving styles that are going to be the transmission is going to be able to adapt to these different styles too. We've also got some different transmission modes as well in here too, which are changed from the previous generation a little bit to work with this automatic transmission. So in the performance or track mode, I guess you could say, previously it was set at 50-50, but now it has a variability where it's able to split the torque as much as 70% to the rear and 30% to the front and vary that infinitely depending on the conditions and what you're trying to do. So that is one of the newest differences that you've got here. When you're just driving around in normal mode, it's about 60% to the front, 40% to the rear, and in gravel mode, it's about 50-50. Now the next way they have improved the performance is the engine has been upgraded a little bit. I'm in a warehouse in downtown Los Angeles, so don't mind the honks and the horns that you hear. So the engine previously had 273 pound-feet of torque. Now this has 295 pound-feet of torque, which is the same as the Morizo edition that was available at launch in 2022. So that is basically just a tuning difference. It's still a 1.6 liter, makes 300 horsepower, and because it's a 3-cylinder, it sounds really unique. It's such a great sounding engine. It's one of the most unique sounding engines on the market. Now the next way this car is quicker is the suspension. So we're going to get a little bit technical here. We're going to talk about what the suspension differences are. So what they found is that when people are on track or under difficult conditions, let's say on a winding, bumpy country road, that you can get some wheel hops sometimes. And let's say you're on a track, you want to apply the power. You don't want the wheel up in the air. So previously we had a little bit of wheel hop. They're trying to reduce that. So they've added essentially a rebound spring, which I can't really show you here, but it is designed to keep the wheel on the ground more often, reduce the instance of wheel hop, wheel travel, so that you're basically putting the power down when you want to. You're able to apply that tire grip for acceleration, cornering, braking, etc. They've also done the same thing in the rear too, but there's actually more changes in the rear. So they've also added this rebound spring here too, but in addition, they made some other changes. The rear trailing arm, the mount point has been revised. It's a little bit higher, and what that is supposed to do is it's supposed to improve the amount of time, improve the amount of grip, so that when you exit a corner, you can hook up, so that when you exit a corner, you can hook up and go and put the power down more effectively. That's the whole idea behind revising this, is that it's just going to be a little bit easier to get the power down, especially on corner exit. And also the suspension revisions are just designed to improve handling and cornering overall. Now, one thing that we get, which we didn't have before, standard across all of the lines, is now we've got a Torsen limited slip up front, and we also have it in the rear, and that is standard across all of the different trim packages. Those are the things that make it go faster, but let's talk about the aftermarket. If you are someone who likes to mod your car, you can see that we got a brand new nose design. So first off, we have this big channel over here, which is going to improve brake performance. You're going to get a duct to the brake. It's better brake cooling. Can't quite see how it's going to work, but it's going to go through there, it's going to flow through here, and you're going to get better brake ducting. So that's one nice thing. Another thing here that you get on this Premium Plus grade, which is also optional in the Premium grade, I'll talk about the grades in a second, is there is this additional cooler over here. This is for the water. This is going to help cool the engine a little bit better too. But the main thing I want to talk about here up front is that this grille has got a more open space, so that for the aftermarket, they've talked about this, you're going to be able to add additional cooling in here, additional radiators, put an intercooler in here, oil cooler, all that kind of stuff is now going to be a little bit easier to do in here without having to change the nose and do anything custom. So that is really good news for the aftermarket. Now, I know one of the things that people have talked about that like to go to the track quite a bit is the issue that Toyota is completely aware of, that sometimes the center diff can overheat under extended track use. And I've asked Toyota about it, and they haven't changed anything yet as far as we know, but they say that they are monitoring the situation. They are looking at it. They're certainly aware that it's happening. But as of right now, there is no additional ability to add a cooler directly to the center differential. So that's maybe not what people want to hear, but that's the way it is right now. The interior is pretty much the same as the last year. Not a lot of significant changes in here. This is the Premium Plus version. You can see we got the beautiful GR logo. We have these really, really nice seats with the suede inserts that I think are very, very grippy. One of the big differences here, of course, with this direct transmission is that we have a direct transmission shifter, and then we have this mode selector over here. The modes are a little bit different than they have been in previous years, and we now have a gravel mode. We got paddle shifters here too, and we have a pretty basic wheel. So this is pretty standard Corolla kind of stuff inside. It's not super exotic or super luxurious, but it definitely gets the job done. It's definitely not the biggest car in the class. It's actually one of the smaller ones, but some people like that. Of course, this is built on the TNGA-C architecture. Let's talk about the different grades that you get now. They are different than before. We've got Core, Premium, and Premium Plus that replaces the previous grades. So in the Core, you get fabric seats, you get the 18-inch cast alloy wheels, but when you move up to the Premium, you get the JBL audio system, you get the suede leather trim seats, which these have. So these are much nicer seats. You get dual zone automatic climate control, and you get front and rear parking sensors. And then when you move up to the Premium Plus, which this is, you get the carbon fiber roof, you get the vented hood, and you get these satin look wheels. They haven't told us specifically when this is going to be available. We're looking at fall of this year. It's going to be a 2025 model. No word on pricing yet. The engineers are still testing this. They're still developing it. So this is kind of a first look right now. I asked them about acceleration. We think it's going to be quicker than the manual transmission, but they don't have any acceleration numbers yet. They haven't gotten that far. So this also has launch mode. So if you're into doing launches, you're into doing quarter mile, stuff like that, this should be a lot better than the manual transmission. See you in the next one.